Welcome to today's episode of Embodied Divinity, where we have special guest Joanna, a mind healing guide who discusses all things hypnotherapy. Joanna is a certified hypnotherapist, energy channeler, quantum codes interpreter who is passionate about helping people find their purpose, heal their wounds, and connect to their deepest part of themselves for aligning with the greatest and highest timeline. We had an amazing and magical conversation today, and I hope you enjoy. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Embodied Divinity. You just heard all about my sweet new friend Joanna here, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear everything she has to share. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, today is going to be fun. So, we're going to start with my signature question. Joanna, tell us how you became the woman sitting in front of us today.
Yeah, that is a great question, right? I'm sure everybody says that's such a great question, so deep. So, the woman that became today is everything that has happened to me in my life, like anybody else. All the way from my childhood, all the way to this point. And all these events, and a lot of the times, especially in my background, I'm a hypnotherapist and a medium too. A lot of these things happened to me in my life that I couldn't explain. I didn't understand. I was like kind of journeying through, seeing things I don't understand. I was kind of confused half the time, really, until some time ago, where I put the pieces together, where I had something happened in my life. I had my ancestors or spirits come to me and tell me either it's going to be okay, or actually I knew certain dates of deaths or illnesses and sicknesses, and it came true. So that got me thinking, how does that even work? Like, why do I even know that? As a child, you're just confused. Like when you're little, you think it's normal, like they're just there, but nobody else sees them. Nobody talks about it. So it was a lot to go through when I was younger. When I was a child, it was very. I had a lot of anxiety when I was a child because you know, they always kind of popped in, popped out. They never scared me, but I didn't know what it was. Nobody told me. I used to check every single door and closet right before I went to bed when I was little, because I was like afraid like something is going to pop out. So clearly they didn't, except my cat, that I used to have, my black cat, that has moved on since, crossed over. So moving forward, I put the pieces together, by seeing spirits and understanding and all these things I predicted that came true. Something had to be true, in it. So, fast forward, uh, in the inner child, I focus on inner child healing along with other things in my hypnotherapy. So it kind of brought me full circle, right? I don't do mediumship one on one. I kind of just do it randomly. I might actually do that. A friend of mine who is a psychic, a really good friend of mine, she said, "You could be better than me, in doing that." I was like, "Yeah, okay." I kind of dismissed it and I'm like, "Holy cow, I am kind of on point with certain things." But I don't do that. I do hypnotherapy, and I also do it's called just like the photonic, which is just the light codes that I've been seeing for over 11 years now, and that blew my mind, like beyond mind blowing. That took me weeks to process. Like, where am I? What reality am I in? What is happening around us? Because now is a very special time in humanity where we're going to see really weird stuff. It's not weird, it's just the actual reality coming forth and showing us what it's really all about. Not just spirits, like, oh, ghosts and spirits. Oh, I could see them and sense them too now. So many people I've noticed, like when I watch some tarot readers, they're like, I'm channeling. Like now everybody's channeling and all this stuff, and they're seeing things and they're feeling things that it wasn't talked about 10 years ago. You know, so in my the profession, the hypnotherapy, I focus on the inner child healing and also the mediumship development to unravel what's really happening, at this time. So, um, yeah, we can talk more
Wow,
about it.
that's so cool. And I just got to say, your voice is so soothing. I love just sitting here
Oh,
listening.
thank
It's
you. I'm a
amazing.
hypnotherapist, so I put you in a trance.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's really cool, your childhood experience, and I'm sure so many of us too, seers, healers, whatever you call it, we have all these experiences and there's almost this bit of denial because if we're not fostered in the right environment, then those get shut down or even deemed bad or evil or whatever it may be. So it's really cool that you were able to really hone in on it and just allow it to become something you lead with. What got you really interested in hypnotherapy, and how have you seen it kind of change and affect your life for the better?
So another great question. So hypnotherapy, the way that I've seen it, just start off with how it changed. Now, hypnotherapy, some of the myths, that some people might think is, is it mind control, or am I going to do some funny weird tricks? I'm going to like cluck like a chicken or become a monkey and just forget all about it. And actually, in my schooling, because I had a whole like a degree for that, yeah, I did that, and I was actually one of the candidates my professor used because I can go in it really quickly, channel, and just because being the medium and stuff, so yeah, I did click like a chicken, but the point of that is yes, it could be used to that to kind of put you in a state where you allow it. See, to me, I always thought it was silly, and there was other people in when he was doing the teachings that don't do that at all. They'll just sit there going, this is ridiculous. I accepted. I was like, this is and my mind said, yeah, sure, I'll go with it. This is silly. And this is the thing with hypnotherapy, it's not mind control, because the individual always has you always have this control of anything in your life. Anything you hear, anything you do, people think they have no control. They do. They make up their mind, even if they see a commercial they don't like, and they're like, "Ooh, I want to accept it. That sounds cool," or or they say, "No, this is ridiculous," and move on. And fast forward with the childhood, the one of the reasons why I became a hypnotherapist, it was like synchronicity. Really, it kind of like fell onto my lap, which is kind of crazy, like how it happened. One of the people I was following on Facebook, her name is Alba Weinman. I'll just mention her name. Um, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." She was talking about like astral travel, other lives. I absolutely believe in that because I see that. I see the spirits. Like I can't deny it. They're like right there. Like of course there's another life. They're like talking to me and give me details. But so anyway, so on YouTube, she said that she was coming to travel the world, like only I think 5 places. I might be wrong with how many. And one of them was my small little town I lived in Denmark, Copenhagen. I was like, come on. I was like, there's got to be a sign. So I bought the tickets. She came, I think, within a few weeks, and she had like a seminar how to be a hypnotherapist, but not the actual schooling for it. It was just like a kind of just getting a taste of it. And I was like blown away. It's not what I thought. It's not mind control. I didn't cluck like a chicken. And I went deep, and I went to another life, another planet. I was, believe in aliens or not, I was a different species. Yeah, I was like what I see. I was like photonic. I was light. I was just pure light. And where I lived, was a crystal city. I still am mind blown with what I saw in the details of it, which is kind of crazy. I got out of that and I was still confused, if that's true or not. But to me, I felt real. It felt so real. So when I got certified, and one of the reasons why I focus on inner child healing, as you mentioned, one of the questions, is that when I do my hypnosis, I've noticed that I would just say percentage wise, like 90% of the people, they always go back to a time in their childhood or adolescence. And one of the reasons why is because when we're born, actually pre-born, there were some studies done that when you're still in the womb, about later stages, the third stage in the womb, all the way to like about 7 years old, 6, 7, you're in theta state. Theta state is record state. You're a sponge. You record everything. And imagine that. And then suddenly you're like an adult and you're like, holy cow, but I'm affected by all this stuff that happened. So when I have the client, they always regress back to a time in their childhood, 90% of the time. So my focus is inner child healing, but that's just the focus. I do everything. If people have questions about relationships, meeting the love of their life, career, you name it, life purpose, that's a main one. Healing, any ailments they have, it could be instant healing, which I've had plenty of times, or healing that sometimes took time because they had to release the emotion, for it to actually get to a state of like, okay, I'm ready, to like take the next step. So
Wow, that sounds amazing. I personally love hypnotherapy, and I think it's so powerful, and I love the way that you speak about it and the way that it came into your life. For someone who's never experienced it before, when somebody comes to work with you in a hypnotherapy session, what does it look like? Like what's the experience?
Sure. So, let's say we have a consultation with somebody. So when they call me interested in hypnotherapy, the first thing is I ask them their goals. Usually, I just ask them to stick with three goals because they could just, have a whole list and they give me like a whole, encyclopedia. So I just say stick with three goals that you want to focus on, and it could be a problem you're facing, something you want healing. It could be literally anything you could imagine, questions, even mediumship. I include that because I am, a very it was psychic. The point of being psychic, everybody is psychic. I just want to mention that everybody is psychic. Okay, I was just kind of born into this because of a previous lifetime that I already had kind of excelled in this, and it's part of my incarnation to utilize that into what I'm doing. That I actually use my mediumship uh, for the hypnosis. Like if I had a handful of clients that either had like a dog or a pet that passed away, relatives, and they're standing right here. I'm talking before we have a session. I see them. I said, "Hey, listen, no, they're here. If they do come through, do you want to talk to them? Not through me. They'll show up in their hypnosis, and it's incredible. And it's kind of not been done. So I think I don't want to say I'm the first, but it hasn't been done that way because I want to do it a different way. I don't want somebody to come to me as a medium, tell me, hey, tell me about grandma, grandpa, whatever. Are they mad at me? Just like, you know, I want the person to experience what I'm seeing. I want you to see what I'm seeing. I want the world to understand they're all psychic. So when the individual or pet comes into their session, they're like, wow, that's so real. They're like right here. They're petting them. They're so happy. And they got the experience. They go, wow, I don't know what that was, but that was really cool. Like they're kind of processing. So with the session after the goals, kind of went off tangent a little bit, sorry, just with a little, example. After the goals, I ask them important questions like their religious background. Are they spiritual? What kind of religion do they believe in? It's very important because that also is a language. Like what if I were to say, a Buddha, and maybe they don't believe in, Buddha or Jesus. So I have to make sure to respect their beliefs. So I always ask them, what do you believe in? Also, let's say I do energy clearing during the session, which I actually feel myself when I clear them. I feel it in my body too. We're like super connected. I ask them, do they want to use colors? Do they want to use energy, like source? Can I say source? So I ask them just the vital questions so they're comfortable. And then and my healing session is a little bit unique because mine is very gentle. I guide them gently because if you think about it, if you have an impactful moment, I don't like to use the word traumatic. The reason why I don't use the word traumatic is because we convert it. It's impactful because my belief is that everything we have in life is a lesson that we can convert into a blessing. Really, as hard as they may sound, some really, really tough things people went through, right? If they shift about understanding that what happened, they go, wow, but it made me who I am. And it made me, this individual and all this stuff. Um, so I make sure that I ask them, those questions. And also, I just state a few things in the session. I just say you could use the bathroom in the session because it's an hour and a half. I won't be there. So, I'm going to take you out of hypnosis very quickly. You're going to be able to, it's like sleepwalking, go to the bathroom, hopefully wash your hands, come back, I get you back into sleep, and you're actually going to go in deeper sleep. Um, and also, another question they have is if we have because I do it online, I do it on Zoom. If we have a dropped call, what happens? It's in my script that they'll understand in their mind that everything is okay. I haven't had any drop calls, by the way, but I say that just in case to relieve their anxieties. Um, to know that they're going to wake up in like a minute or two, comfortably, gently on their own, like from a sleep. So that's the process. When we get into the session, I let their soul guide me. So let's say you have a question. Let's say that, hey, Joanna, I have a question about relationships or something. So I say, if your soul goes somewhere else completely, are you okay with that? They might say no. They might not want to go into really like impactful moments that they really are still heavy with them. So I make sure with them, if they say yes, I also ask them during the session how they're feeling. I'm very intuitive, so I kind of feel my way through. The most important thing to me is I never put anybody in any situation they do not want. Some other hypnotherapists, there's no judgment. It's just my method. Might do that. And I don't do that. I let the soul guide me, and I let them just kind of maneuver me through how they're feeling. I detach emotions if need be, just to understand the lesson and
Wow.
and heal from that pain and understand what is the point of it. Why did you go through that? Why did you, in a sense, choose that? So just those little things I wanted to know. There's a gentle process.
That is so cool. I can feel that you create such a safe container, and
Yeah.
when you have that safe container, so much is possible. I want to kind of go into the mediumship aspect of it and how you even came to know that you were a medium and found the confidence to be able to speak the truth that you were able to see.
So when I realized that I saw things other people didn't see, I didn't realize for a long time because my family was very taboo. Like they're very conservative. And I talked to them about I mentioned things, I said dates, and they're just like, oh yeah, she knows it. Yeah, let's look, like how would she know that? And dates and deaths and so I just confirmation after confirmation. The thing is, it actually took me a very long time. I would say more than half of my life to even speak up about it because in my family, in my beliefs, it was very much no, 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 we don't talk about that. And it depends. So the one I had is, I guess, a little bit more challenging than maybe some other ones who were like accepted and open arms, like, oh, you're my little psychic baby. Like, I didn't have that. And that's just my journey. And I'm not upset about it. It made me who I am. And so, not until my 20s that I started actually mentioning things to friends, usually, like the boyfriends or something I was dating, their families, and, intimate people that I knew. And then eventually in my actually 30s, because I'm 30, what am I, 37, 30? Yeah. In my 30s, that's when I actually started speaking up. Like, you get energies everywhere. Like, you go to the hospital, there's the most, I'd say, in the hospitals. Okay, not the cemeteries. You think the cemeteries are filled with spirits? No, I had to take my daughter to the hospital, and there was a spirit, and I was sitting this lady. It was Corona time, and it was like, there's a little plastic between us, and the spirit came to me and said some things, and I was like, what are the odds I'm going to talk to this woman? The spirit knew clearly, and my human mind, I'm like, no way. There's a glass. There's no way we can. And I end up talking to this woman. I'm like, should I say it? Should I say it? I didn't say it. Because I'm human, because I'm like, maybe I could have said some messages, but it's like this human role we play, going like, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm crazy. And there's a few regrets along the way, but not regrets I did anything wrong. It's just like the regrets of, oh, I should have said that. So as those built up, then I got more confident, like, right, going more confident to actually speak up. So now when I go to certain places, I kind of just say, hey, I have somebody, who's here. Are you interested in hearing their message? They look like this, they sound like this. And they'll be like, okay. And I'll say it. If they say no, then okay, then I'll just move on. So actually, that part took me a very long time. And I'm still um, learning to maneuver through that because, it's like a weird thing. Like, you don't just show up to somebody's, like, like the, shopping for groceries and, like, go to the, deli guy and go, hey, I see your grandma standing next to you. And she's like, it's like, he's like, even though maybe the statement might be useful to him, people, kind of like mind their own business, right? So, that's why I don't really do the mediumship like that, because I think that that's one of my challenges, actually, to talk about all these things that I see that are just mind blowing, phenomenal, that I finally have to speak about because it's time.
Yeah.
It's time.
It's so powerful, especially for the divine feminine to be able to have her truth be
Yeah,
told, right? And to be
yeah,
able to use that. I think it's so cool that you're brave enough to be able to use your gift in the way, like using that discernment, right? Because
yeah,
um I know too from my experience, it's like just because we have all this knowledge doesn't mean we always need to act on it. And there is a time when we do get to act on it. I think it's really, really cool. So how would you say mediumship has maybe benefited your life and the lives of your clients?
So, mediumship is, it's it's a two sides of a coin, really. Like, you would think, oh wow, people say, wow, you're blessed. Wow, you're like, you have this gift. It's incredible. But I had to go through the other end of that coin of, I was scared. I didn't know what was happening. Why do I know this knowledge? I know people's deaths. I thought that was like insanity. Like, oh, that's like almost like a, what do you call it? A curse or something. Half my life that it was a curse, really. because I wasn't supported, and that's fine. I had my guides around me telling me, and grandparents supporting me. The invisible world was supporting me, but the physical world was actually giving me the lessons. This is the funny thing, right? Our own unique lessons in this life. So, the mediumship with clients, it's not really clients, like I do it through the hypnosis, but I also share with friends. And sometimes when I do the podcast, like, somebody came in for you, I'll tell you later, just popped in before, um, really quickly. And sometimes I get distracted and I'll mention it later during like pre sessions with clients. Actually, I do mention it. And it blows my own mind. Like, when you give the information and you're so on point, like, I mean, color of eyes, hair, personality, like, even though you're a medium, like I'm a medium, I'm still blown away by my own like saying, and they're confirming it. So like when I see these mediums and I watch these shows and I love these shows, like Caputo, her, I love that show, and the other ones, and like they're all casual about it, like yeah, yeah, I have this knowledge, but I'm even blown away by my own knowing. And after I'm finished, I'm like, holy cow, how can I know that stuff? Right? And then somebody asked me, it's like, why don't you just play the lotto if you know like this information? It's like, why shouldn't all the psychic be millionaires, right? Let me tell you. And that's like a friend of mine was asking me this funny question. And I said, because we all have our own lessons, because we have certain lessons in this life, and that trajectory that you have of, let's say, being a millionaire, winning the lotto, could be there. It depends on where you focus, what you want, what your desire is. But, like that trajectory depends on if that's one of our lessons and our timelines, because that's like a funny question they ask.
That is so cool. And I love the way that you incorporate both of them, the mediumship through your hypnotherapy, where you really allow your clients to experience it for themselves and to be in that energy, because I believe like you that we're all psychics and we're all channels and we all have these abilities, and it's our ability to tune into that frequency that allows us to either choose it or not. So I think it's really cool that you're kind of giving them that taste of what it's like to have that inner knowing. So
Yeah.
cool. Have you had
Yeah.
any really fun experiences with it? Just like since you've gained your confidence, has there been anything that was just like your favorite moment of mediumship?
Favorite. Well, the first one that pops in my head, I don't know why, it was I had a client, and the dog, the dog, because I didn't have any animals before. Like I have animals, but not usually like just kind of come and go. And I usually don't discuss animals. Oh, they do come. And she's like, oh, I really want to, because she's very much an animal person. And she was mentioning that she really wanted to connect to her animals. And I was like, okay, that's great. And suddenly I'm sitting here and the dog jumped, like, the spirit, like you would think, okay, well, let's talk about some funny things, right? Like just real funny things, like being a medium, going like, I'm sitting here, I feel paws, like paws of an animal, like a dog on my lap, clearly, right? And she was talking about, I'm like, he's right here. So
Yeah.
you can't see him. And this is the funny energetic world that, oh, I love talking about this because it's not talked about. So how can that be? They're spirit, they're invisible. The thing is, I don't know how that works, but I'm super sensitive. Like they touch me, I feel they poke me, like, excuse me, literally poke me, like, excuse me, I'm right here. I see them, I smell them, like you name it, beyond, perception. So that one with the dog, he jumped on his little paws, jumped on my lap. And I'm like, he's right here. I think you might want to show up in the session. I mean, he's here. And I described to her the dog, and what was beautiful, because you never know. There's no expectations in a session. I can't say, oh, he's going to show up. I said maybe. So he did. He showed up, and she was so happy, because it was like a heartbreaking thing of how he passed. And she's like, oh, well, is he okay? Is he upset? Is he sad? Does he know I didn't mean it? Like she didn't do anything. It was just the situation that happened that was out of her control, right? And there was the joy of like she was so like happy, and she had that the resolution in her mind and like that relief, and that blockage that she had in her heart for that situation. She felt guilty, even though it was not her fault, it was just circumstances. She felt guilty, and you see like that release in them, like, oh, the weight like melted, and you see the blockages go. And that's the amazing thing, what I do. I love what I do, because it's like in real time you see it, that release and the heart opening. So yeah, that was a favorite one of my
That's
favorites.
so cool. I love that. I love that you get to have that experience with animals too. It just makes it so much fun
Yeah.
to feel the energy of it all. So I want to hear about your experience with seeing like the light codes and your lattice codes. What does this look like in your work? How does this why is this a thing? Why does it matter that you can see light codes? How does it help and how do you use them?
Yes. So I changed the name of it because I was guided to change it, but it's okay. It's just called Cosmic, what I call it, Cosmic Blueprint Codes.
Ooh, I
It's just,
love that.
you know,
Cosmic blueprint
Cosmic Blueprint
codes.
Codes. Because the lattice ones, the guide said just it was just a depiction of it. So basically, what happened is, in 2012, I got the activation, but the activation didn't start until years before. I had to go through really uncomfortable body stuff that made me almost paralyzed every year for certain points, which is crazy. I realized now with activation, it was like these circles on my hand, only on my hands, on my feet, and on like my elbows. It was like crazy. Just on my hands, on the bottom of my feet, the palms. That's where the energy comes from, if you think about it. Right. So that same year that they stopped, I had it for 3 years in a row, and it was horrible. Activations sometimes are not comfortable, and I had really like crazy ones. So that stopped, and suddenly in that year, or within half a year, I started seeing things like these. You know, when you see something that doesn't belong in this earth, and you're like, "What the hell?" Like there was an episode I think of The Simpsons where he was in like the third dimension or the second, and he started seeing the other dimension. That's it. No, really, you're like in there, like, "What is this?"
Yep.
Like in the beginning, I just kept saying "wow" for weeks, really.
Wow.
And because it's mind blowing because we ascended in 2012 and actually heard the frequency. I got the frequency in my ear. That date that they said, the Mayans said, oh, it's going to be shift. I was like, yeah, whatever. Because being real, whatever, like, yeah, okay. No, we did. Oh, we did. I heard a frequency in my ear, and it was like a buzz, and my whole brain just vibrated. And then I saw a green orb in my room floating around. I was like, I don't know what that was, but then, you know, fast forward to what I see is like these light codes, they're in a different dimension, frequency dimension, whatever, because we are ascended, we're in the in between. So the earth is third, but it's shifting. So it's like we're kind of like seesawing back and forth. That's what I do. I live in the third, but I go back to the fifth, and I'm here to kind of help people bring them to the fifth with my just all that I do, with my knowledge, with my words, with my hypnosis, with the knowledge I'll bring forth now. I haven't talked about it actually. This is one of the first that I finally, they said, okay, it's time. So these codes are, it's not like symbols. What it is it's called blueprint because these are your codes. It looks like they're transparent. So you're looking at these codes. Imagine you're looking at something that doesn't belong into this earth, basically, and it's floating down, just constantly. It's always in motion, just floating down, and then disappears, and same one floating down. It's always in motion. So these light codes are basically like the kundalini. It's like a snake. It's like the snake. I'm not going to say it in the technical term because I'm just saying like a real person because I haven't done the research. I just explain what I see and what it does. So basically, the kundalini is just like a snake that's looped and wrapped around, and that is your blueprint. There's some parts that are like visible, and that's where you are in your paradigm, your manifestation, what are you going to call it, your reality. And there's other parts that are invisible because you haven't chosen that part. So it kind of is in front of you always, and within those loops, wherever it connects, there's symbols, and inside those symbols are all circles, and in there is sacred geometry. It's crazy. And it just is. I don't, it's like, all the stars and other things that are in there. And I've seen it for 11 years, and it took me a while to process. And they said, okay, they gave me all the information, what it is. Basically, it's everybody has their cosmic blueprint, and everybody's going to start to see it. They just need to activate their awareness. The key is, I mean, I have a course actually that I'm creating now. It's going to be launched the 22nd, but it's to activate your awareness. But there's more than that, just steps. It's simple steps to basically shift your mind into seeing what I see. That's it. And it's happening now. Like this year is going to be epic, to say the least. So that's what I'm going to be showing people in my course. That it's not just light codes. People say, "Oh, it's a light code." A little. No, it's actually your actual, like. cosmic divine reality. And one of the things that I'm going to teach in there, like, this is all channeled information I got. So I'm just channeling, and it's nothing of my head. It's just putting it together, from what they were given me, basically. So the realities we live in, I want to say something funny, like people say, manifest, the word manifest, oh my goodness, said like a broken record, right? We manifest all the time, every second. They tell me, you don't just manifest waiting for a manifestation. You actually like create your manifestation at every given second. And that's why you have to be careful with what you think all the time. Like, because every thought is creation. Every single thing you think, good and bad, it's creating your reality. And that's why you have to catch yourself. And the more you focus on something that you don't want, oh my God, don't do that. Focus on something that you want. The most incredible dream you could imagine, just focus on that. Nothing is impossible, really. I mean, I can give you tons of examples of people who made the impossible happen, right? And the realities, I'm going to just say one more thing because I could just keep talking about it. It'll be in my course. The realities are, as you go in your path, we have infinite realities, right? Like they say. But you focus on a certain amount, right? You're not going to be like, oh, there's other thing. If no, the human mind is not capable of understanding the infinity of it. So you have a bunch. It's like a tree, the tree of life, and that's actually what symbolic it means. It's actually your reality. It's your world. So you start off at the core, that's you, and you kind of branch off. So you branch off with, here are your other realities you can live, and then you pick one because that's what you're focused on. You make a decision and you go down the path like a tree, and you keep going and going. Like, and imagine this tree just kind of like infinite branches, until you get to your endpoint of life. So we're always creating our lives. And my course, basically, the course that I gave it a name, it's Awaken Your Cosmic Blueprint Codes. Launch yourself into your highest timeline. That's all it is. And it's like it exists, like the most beautiful, epic timeline that you want. I promise you, every single person exists. Even somebody who's a vegetable, like in the hospital, I promise you, miracles. Like, everybody has that, but you have to believe it. That's another part of the element, is you have to have such strong conviction to know, I'm going to create the most incredible life regardless of my circumstances, regardless of my health, where I am in my present moment, regardless of anything. Because God's source understands and believes in everything you want. And the one thing, I'm just going to finish it off because I can keep talking. The one thing they told me that everybody should know is, like, they told me this one thing, kind of laughed in the beginning, like kind of shrugged and said, it's all good. Like, what do you mean it's all good? There's wars, there's, all this stuff, people dying. It's not all good. No, it's not. And they said, no, no, Joanna. They said it's all good because everybody picks and chooses how they want to see the world. See, I gave them my vision. Like, they're a spark of me, you're a spark of me. And at the end of it all, your perspective is going to be what I wanted. It's just your own unique perspective of life. That's what I wanted. You're me, like, you're God, you're me. You're just like, I have your eyes. It's just like all billions of people on the world. Just teach God's wanted to see the perspective of life and just experience life. And he's like, hey, if you want, the golden ticket, whatever it is, you got it. Whatever you want. So it's all good, really. And I think people have to let go of blame and blaming themselves for anything in life. Blaming themselves for anything they felt they did wrong or they got done unto them. And they carry that with them. Wish they would have changed it, especially when I do mediumship and people who didn't have a chance to say goodbye or they did something wrong to that person that passed away. They have such guilt and blame. And during my sessions, I explained to them, no, that's not the point of it. That's not the point. Like, they're good. They're good. like we're the ones who have to go through the lessons here. Like, no, they're up with, whatever, Buddha, Jesus, what do you want to see, up in the, in the ethers, like having a party. We're the one who are, like, quote unquote suffering. Like, we don't have to suffer. There's no suffering here.
That's so
So, I'm sorry, I could keep talking because it's just
No, I
so
love it.
passionate about that.
I think it's really powerful. And I'd love for you to share the ways that, because you did mention your course and we've talked about the hypnotherapy if you could mention the ways that people can start to work with you or see some of the offerings that you have. Like I said at the beginning of this, all of the links to find Joanna's work is below us, but I'd love for you to just give us a little bit more detail.
Sure. So they could work with me. They can just log into the website, which is Mind Healing Guide. I almost forgot what I am. Mind Healing Guide. And I do have a special offering that'll be 20% off. And they just email me. I'll just add it to the website anyways. And I also have a membership, so they have a really great discount for the membership. It's a little it's cheaper. It's the deal rather than the one session. But in the membership, they get so much because I have actually cookbooks coming out for inner child healing and other things that I'm actually working on at the present time. I have courses, I have affirmation cards of all. It's written on there. I'm actually in the process of working on it. So yeah, they can go out there and just book a session with me. But
Cool.
if they have any questions at all, let's say they're nervous or they don't know and there's hesitation because it sounds great, but I don't know. Don't hesitate to send me a message with a question. I'll be happy to answer anything you want, even if you decide not to have the session or have the session. I'll just be happy to kind of relieve some of the questions or myths anybody has on their minds.
So cool. I'm so excited for my community to be able to experience all of your gifts and magic. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And to everybody listening, I'll see you guys next week. As always, breathe deep and plan on miracles.